Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of YOML, a year of magical learning. Today, we're talking about book 54. Chris, why don't you introduce book 54?
Well, you read this one too, so I feel like the ones that you read, I'm going to let you introduce it if you want to. But
Sure. So today's book, it's called Loonshots: How to Nurture the Crazy Ideas That Win Wars, Cure Diseases, and Transform Industry by Safi Bachall.
I don't know
Right?
how to pronounce his name. Yeah, it's Bachall, Bachall. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
You got me.
So I think the title of the book, it's very referencing what the book is about. It's Loonshot, right? I mean, it's loony and it's a moonshot. So basically, Loonshot, it's a combinations of very crazy ideas that you incubate, so that you can one of these days, make it to the moon. That's the thing, is moonshots, like, taking it to the extremities. And a Loonshot is essentially, it's I guess a concept where they foster like radical ideas, and fostering the radical ideas is going to create more and more moonshots. So it's like a moonshot factory, for lack of a better word. It's like, so not only that you have the moonshot that you do the radical thing, but a loonshot, it's essentially a factory of these moonshots. And so an incubation of crazy ideas that's going to change the way we see the world. Like I said, how to nurture the crazy ideas to win wars, cure diseases, and transform industries. And so with that, I'll leave it to you to go through your reflection on this.
Is we got a fighter over here. Yeah, just piggybacking. Good synopsis, but just piggybacking a little bit on that. I remember it's trying its best to answer the question of like, when does something transition from like a startup to kind of we got relief. Hang on a second. Thank you. It's trying to answer the question of when do you officially what's that transition point between when you're in that creativity mode and
right. It's a fine line between a startup business and a Loonshot. And
exactly.
and in some cases you could be in both at any given time and don't even know it.
Exactly. And it's when do you make that transition from the spunky startup to now you're Salesforce or something like that, and you're this franchise factory. And then how do you foster that innovation and create a culture that still brings innovation to the table, turns it into a franchise, if you will, where you can be more stable. And there's different skill sets along the way. And it's about building a culture around making sure that you can kind of feed that monster in that ecosystem.
Right. It's incubating the I guess incubating the essence of what a crazy ideas should be versus a mature enterprise, right? Because it's required different input and different nurturing methodologies.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the innovation, even though one of Salesforce's core values, the company I work for is innovation, and they certainly do innovate. These days, their innovation comes from acquisition. Like they don't do a lot of innovation internally anymore. I don't feel like at one point in time they were that innovative thing, and then there's that transition point where you become not that company anymore, but you try to keep the thing going a little bit.
Right.
So anyway, moving on past the book, it's an interesting book. I would highly recommend it. I thought it was fantastic. I know I shared it with you, and I know you read it immediately and felt the same. So certainly one that I think that both of us would thumbs up recommend to anybody checking this out. But on to the reflection, the thing that I always remember most from this book is, and that I probably learned the most of this book, and how I want to apply it to our life, my life, Clubany, the other stuff that you and I have been working on, is to remind myself to always, be a gardener and not a Moses. So like setting the stage for others to thrive. in the book, he talks about wanting to, be a gardener, not a Moses, meaning it's create the ecosystem. When you're a gardener, right, you're trying to build the conditions, or excuse me, you're trying to create the conditions and the environment for great things to grow and to seed and to prosper, right? That's the job of a gardener. Like, we can't control, anything. You can't control anything. I mean, you can only control.
I mean,
what can
you
control,
can
but
apply directly. You have to do indirectly. I mean, you can't ask a tree to grow, but you can encourage by watering it, by cultivating and giving it the nutrients, the soil, or whatever it needs, right? Pruning it or whatever the case may be. So you're indirectly applying in an encouragement of some sort.
Exactly. So you're on the other flip side of it, it's the Moses, right? It's the guy that just gets things done, leads the charge. He's the hero, the Moses, right? Like, he's the savior. He leads his people to the promised land. Like, that is not what I care about in this world. That is not what you and I don't think care about. Like, I think what we want to do is to build this amazing ecosystem to foster and encourage people to find what's important to them, and to seed, and to plant that seed and to watch that grow, and let them, I guess, if they want to become a Moses, become a Moses. And that really is what Clubney is at the end of the day. And that's what we're trying to build here, is kind of a Loonshot factory, somewhere where you can constantly always be seeding and growing people, and helping them to discover who they are, what's important to them, and then creating the settings and the ecosystem and the environment in order to create those spontaneous collisions with other things that collide with their values and their purpose and their mission, and see what grows from that, right? I have no idea what's going to create of this, but in our opinion, this is a Loonshot factory where we're constantly going to see new things spinning out of here, innovating, growing, as people, as people live their own purpose and live their own values and live their own mission, and try to do it all together and figure out how we can connect and grow. So this book, and in particular, was one that was really impactful for me to solidify that notion in my head of, remember to always, to be this is what I want to be. Is I want to be a gardener. I don't want to be a Moses. I don't want to be somebody's hero. I don't want to tell people how to live. I don't want to lead, a big group of people. I just want people to discover what's important to them, and then help to set the stage for them to thrive. Just like you and I. I finished up the story with, I remember reading this one. I took there's books where you just remember time and place when you read it. It was in December, going into Christmas, in between Christmas and New Year's Eve. I went down to Florida in 2020 in the pandemic. That's the first time I had traveled. I traveled by myself. Felicia was pregnant back here in Indiana, and we were still reeling from the loss of Amelia, and I was almost about 3/4 the way through finishing with her book. And we'd been doing so many things, you and I, and I needed just like a mental reset week. So I drove down there. I think I listened to 7 audiobooks in like 7 days. Just did a lot of walking, a lot of thinking, a lot of recharging, a lot of resetting of what was important and what we were trying to do going forward. And this is one of those books that I remember reading and finishing as I was walking on the beach, and I remember just texting you like, you have to read this book. Like, it was it just felt exactly aligned with what we were trying to do and trying to grow here with Clubney. And I think it's a book that you and I both connected really well over in terms of helping to reinforce where we were going with this, to feel like this is a something that is feasible and possible in a self-sustaining ecosystem that we can create going forward, and kind of our own little Loonshot, if you will. So so that was my overall thing here, is try to set the stage for others to thrive and shine, and be a gardener, not a Moses. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I just want to reiterate that Clubney is in essence a Loonshot factory.
Yeah.
And and we created kind of Clubney out of, I guess, sheer like coincidence, You know, it's
Right.
not like we had a purpose to create Clubany. We just say, well, as it's just organically grown to be Clubany. And then that's the, I guess, the purpose of what we had kind of envisioned what Clubany is about. And then we ran across this book and saying, dang, this book is described almost exactly what Clubany is all about. And
Right.
so it represents a big portion of what Clubany does as a mission is to build a tribe of people where they can do crazy things and follow their own values and in their own hearts to do whatever that makes them fulfilling. And I think, that's, I think worth a mention. And, I think, and a lot of time, I guess the culture you have to start with the gardeners. You without the gardener, the other entity inside the gardeners can't exist. And
Right.
so there's no, I guess there's no right or wrong in terms of whether you're a gardener or Moses or something else. It's just that because we are the founders of Clubany, we have to be gardeners, because without the gardener creating a garden, nothing else will will grow that is in I guess in the proper place, right? Because it could grow like weeds in out of place, and it's harder for the individual to thrive. So that's why we
Right.
created um the garden of Clubany, and we just happen to want to be a gardener. It
Right.
just happens that way. I mean, it's not like we had to be, but being gardener is what Chris and I wanted to be. And I think it's crucial for both of us to be gardener, but at the same time, uh, if you go into Clubany, you could be a Moses, you could be anything else, you could be whatever you want.
Right. Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, there could be little mini ecosystems created within the ecosystem for
Right.
all
So
I
you
care.
could
I
be a
mean,
gardener as
yeah,
well,
yeah,
but you can
right.
also
Yeah.
be Moses, where you can take the crazy idea and turn it into something in enterprise, and then you have to go and lead it and manage it. You can't just uh, build a environment all the time. So once you build an environment that actually takes off, it's either you become a Moses, or you have to get somebody to become a Moses, kind of lead
Right.
it.
Right.
And so the thing is that I think the book also talks about, once you have this loon shot, and where the crazy idea starts to take tractions, there is a transition period where it has to be the culture has to change. It can't sustain the loon shot in a growing and mature enterprise. It just doesn't work. And so
Right.
that's the thing, is that it's transitioning in terms of
But you
what
need,
stage.
but you need the creativity still to continue to thrive and grow. So it's like a cyclical thing. You either, once you get to
Right.
that,
So
yeah,
you
yeah,
take Salesforce, for example. They can't thrive anymore, but you still have to create departments inside of that company to be loonshots, to
right,
make innovation from within. So, but the thing is, if you think about in that fashion, those two culture, even in the same company, they're completely different,
yeah,
because inside of your mainstream, it's all about like management and tactical. But in the other one, you encourage a lot of like
risk
new,
taking, trial and error,
like creativity, right?
yeah,
So
creativity,
you
yeah,
you basically are giving them free range to do things that is not normal. But
right,
in the operation, you have to make sure it's predictable, it's normal,
right,
right? And so
yep,
that's how to combine the two together to make sure that Salesforce continue to grow. But if you don't have the innovations, eventually it's going to get stagnant, and you're going to get beat by your competitions. And
right,
so Salesforce, they do instead of innovating, they actually acquire the innovations
right,
to continue to grow. And but at the same time, I mean, some of that works, but at the same time, when you do that, it's harder because of the culture of differences of different companies that you are engulfing.
sure, yeah,
You're acquiring a different of culture, and then it clashes. And so to me, it works, but it's actually not as efficient if you were to have a internal department that is responsible for innovation, where you tell them, hey, Your job is to be creative, and on the other side, your job is to be optimal. You be productive. All right. So it depends on what it is that you're trying to do and how. So yeah, there's a difference in terms of the size, in terms of the, I guess, the intent of what you want as an outcome. Because a loon shot is essentially say, I need you to create out of this world idea, think outside the box.
Right.
Right.
The blue ocean strategy.
Blue ocean strategy.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. And so for me, that's the difference. But also, like, take that back into company. We are talking about building a kind of like a huge, like a wide creative department where these are the garden where people can come in and be creative for themselves, make loon shots. Right. So it's a loon shot.
And if one of them grows and they become successful, great. That'll fund a lot of other projects, and then vice versa. It's like yin and yang. It's like you need them both. Like in order, and if you want to be around for another 1,000 years, which is what our goal is, it's not to be, when we're long gone, we still want this ecosystem.
Right, but it's one of those things where you have to understand that it's the you need a garden first.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah. Without the garden, it's harder to do your moonshot, right? You can't
do it without them. You can't do it without it. I mean, you have to set the stage like first. Like we have to do the hard work.
Yes.
Intelligently work through this culture that we're trying to create that can make sure that we're fostering innovation and growth, and we're fostering people to be able to a creative outlet, but at the same time, protecting franchises once franchises develop, but it all goes together, as one of these dies, we have plenty more plants that have been seeded and growing for hundreds of years, kind of thing in theory, and they're ready to take off when to make it all a nice balanced harmony ecosystem. That's the world that we're trying to build, and it'll be fun.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing I want to mention is that we are the creator of company, but we also want to be the user and the consumer of company. Because we want to build the incubations of the Loonshot, but we want to build a Loonshot ourselves,
right?
And among others. So, I think that's to me is one of those things that makes me kind of fulfill in a way. Because essentially, I'm building the thing that I need, which is I need a place where I can build, be creative, have crazy ideas, and see where it sticks.
It's a place where you can live your values and feel happy about it, and feel the balance that we're trying to create in this ecosystem of not just top down values, but bottom up values of the individuals in the ecosystem, and marrying those two things together and seeing what happens. That's the theory of the garden that we're building, right? Like, so
exactly.
Hopefully those produce a lot of amazing plants, vegetables, whatever, I don't know, whatever else you can grow in a garden.
It give us the best chance.
Right.
The best chance. Right. I mean, when you have a I guess designed garden, you have the best chance of having those crazy idea make it. Right. And that's the purpose. And it's the best of both worlds, because you get to do what you wanted to do, and at the same time, you have a lot of support from the gardeners and the garden themselves. I mean, the garden itself is your support. The other Moses inside of the garden, other gardeners, other like moonshot days alongside you that may intertwine and kind of give you the support to even have a much better chance than you would otherwise.
Absolutely. Well, awesome. Any final thoughts before we call it quits, and we'll see everybody tomorrow?
So I think for us, you be gardener first, and then be a product, be a consumer of your own product, and live the values that you always want to live.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said that one better myself. So the final question, I guess, for everybody, they can ponder and think through is, do you want to be a gardener? Do you want to be a Moses? Or do you want to do something else in your life, which is totally fine. But hopefully we can help solve all appetites in the world that we're creating. So appreciate
for anyone that is want to learn more about Clubney, comment, ping us, and we'll kind of give you more details.
Absolutely, and there'll be many more reflections to come where we'll continue to talk through these things, which would actually be really cool, to be honest with you, as we look back on our own recordings. And I don't know if you can see this as well as we've been going through the books, as I've been reading through them, but like even slowly but surely you can start, if you follow along with this whole journey, you'll start to understand where a lot of this stuff comes from, how it develops, like where were these ideas forming, like how you and I are thinking about it. It's kind of actually cool. It's like a little it's like a journal, that we're leaving, the breadcrumbs a little bit of this whole entire, journey that we've been on together in a lot of ways. So it's kind of neat. And I know this is the first time we're really kind of talking a little bit more about Clubney. Normally it's not as in depth, but yeah, this is
because this book is just essentially describe what Clubney is,
right.
right, in the business aspect of Clubney. So we have the club and the company. So we have Clubney, right? So this is basically what the company side of Clubney is about. So it's happened to describe exactly what we want it to be, and that's why cool. We want to talk about and it kind of want us to talk about what Clubney is about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks to everyone for tuning in, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, have a good one. Bye.
Have a good night.